Any of you guys enjoyed the old Far Cry's, man? There's one constant question a lot of people always ask is, should I get the next Far Cry? Am I going to enjoy the next Far Cry? No, there's 6 of them things out there, man. But we're going to review that game today. But before we get on with the video, definitely go ahead and subscribe to the Iron Lords podcast channel. You can always catch us every Sunday at 11 a.m. or 1 p.m. when it's not the football season. And don't forget to go there and follow me at Lord Addict IOP on Twitter. Without any further ado, let's review Far Cry 6 for the Xbox Series X. What's going on, you guys? Lord Addict here, coming at you with another review. Today we're going to be reviewing Far Cry 6 on the Iron Lords podcast. And the only question I have is it going to get that iron seal from us? Is it going to be that game that the Iron Lords podcast suggests for its audience to play? And that's the biggest question. But the first thing we're going to talk about in this review is the story of Far Cry 6. Is it good? Is it average? Is it bad? What is the story, Lord Addict? Actually, the story was pretty good. I'm not gonna like say it's the most amazing story that's ever been in the Far Cry games, because I do think that for the most part their stories do hit pretty well, and that's mainly because they always choose a very fantastic antagonist that really brings out the story of the game. I will say that in terms of what the narrative of the game is, it's one of those things where it's like, let's take back the land, let's get everyone united, what you would really expect. But it's not really necessarily about something that we've seen over and over again. It's about how they do it. Do they do it differently? And they don't really do it differently either, and I'll be honest with you. But you know what they do? They do just enough to keep you interested in the story and what's going on in Far Cry 6. They want you to know how to build onto this universe and find out really the conclusion of this story. And I don't really have any real issues with the story of Far Cry 6, besides maybe I felt like the climax, the very end, could have ended a little bit differently. Not really gonna go too much into that because I'm not gonna spoil anything, but you guys will know once you beat the game. Now let's talk about the performance of this game, and let's talk about how this game looked in terms of graphics. I felt like they did a really good job in terms of what this game looks like, how it performed. I'm playing on the Xbox Series X, so I definitely understand if there's people that's going to be skeptical coming into this, not knowing exactly how the last gen consoles work, how the PS4 works, and how the Xbox One and Xbox One X works. But for me on the Xbox Series X, besides maybe I think the cinematics of the game ran at 30 frames, I don't know, it just looked like a little clippy. I don't know if it was 30 frames or if it was some kind of screen tearing or something going on there. I don't know all the terms for the graphic stuff, but for the most part I have no issues. Now this game is co-op, and I did run it with a friend, and for the most part that was a pretty seamless thing too. Now it does look like the second person that joins the person that's hosting the event or hosting the session, all he's going to keep throughout this is he's going to keep what he unlocks, any type of cars or anything related to the vehicles in the game that he delivers to the little pickup spots. He's not going to get anything related to story progression, which is a little disappointing. I think if you host something at the beginning of the game, you should be able to play the whole game and keep that story content. But I'm not a developer. I don't know how hard that is. You know, maybe they have issues with if you join someone's session, it overwrites your session. So, you know, if that's the case, give people an option for that. Give people an option if they want to play the whole story with someone that it's going to overwrite their save file, or give them the option that only the progression and the add-on locks come over with you to your save. Now keep in mind, you do continue to keep pretty much everything you get at the other one. It's just like I said, it's pretty much strictly just story progression. But keep in mind, when you do all this stuff in your friend's game and you come over to your game, you're gonna have those newer weapons that you really shouldn't have at the beginning of the game. You're gonna have higher ranking armor and stuff that you really shouldn't have in the beginning of the game. So I feel like, you know, this is a good middle ground. Maybe they should have given a little bit more options, but I'm not going to go too much into it. And I feel like this is something that you guys would enjoy, especially for co-op experience. It's really fun to go in there and just, you know, ride a helicopter with your friend. The majority of their stuff, if not all of their vehicles, have dual seats because they knew that a lot of people are going to be playing this game in a co-op experience. And I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like if a game is any co-op in whatsoever, it's going to take away from its single player experience, the single player story experience. But I didn't really feel that, to be honest. I felt like they built this game as a single player game, and they put mechanics into the game to really enlighten and heighten the co-op experience. So for instance, if you decide to play this whole game by yourself, you're going to enjoy the game. And if you invite one of your friends to help you do some of the stuff, you're going to even enjoy it more because it's always funner with friends. And I appreciate the options. I appreciate the fact that they're giving you the option to play this with your friend. Now you guys know what it is, man. This is my favorite portion of almost every review. Let's talk about the gameplay in Far Cry 6. I honestly feel like the gameplay is where this game excels by far. It is a nice time playing Far Cry 6. There's multiple different vehicles and they all feel nice. The guns feel great. They feel solid. They feel like they're actual objects in your hand. The co-op experience on top of this makes it really fun. Now I do feel like some of the stealth mechanics in this game, it's not real good towards, you know, the beginning portion of the game, but once you unlock more stuff, you're able to do stuff a lot more stealth like in this game. But just don't really feel like you're going to do everything stealth coming out the gate on Far Cry 6. I'm sure if you have enough patience and you have a lot of experience in these type of games, you can. And to your point, myself, I do as well. I just felt like sometimes when you take someone out in Far Cry 6, it's like the other people naturally know he's down. And then they'll be sitting there for 10 minutes, but the moment you take out that dude, they decide to go on a walk and find his dead body. So just be very, very aware when you're doing stuff and you're clearing out these objectives. Now, I'm sure some of you are like, Lord Addict, what's the type of styles that you could play in Far Cry 6? Is it really open to how you want to play it, not necessarily how the game wants you to play it? Are they very good with that types of mechanics? And I would have to say yes. For the most part, everything I wanted to do in this game and how I wanted to play this game, I didn't feel like there wasn't some type of gun or some type of mechanic that was in the game that wouldn't let me play the way I wanted to play the game. I will say that Ubisoft, when they make the Far Cry games, they do a really good job making sure that if you want to play that game a certain way, you have access to the game that certain way. And I have to give my hats off to them because I do feel like a lot of games do it all one way or all the other. For instance, you know, they have decent stealth mechanics in the game, but it's nothing serious. And if you do get seen on these games, you might as well just restart the checkpoint because they're going to come at you so hard and the game wasn't designed to be seen that it feels a little bit unbalanced in terms of if I can play it stealth-like, can I go in there guns blazing? And if I go in guns blazing, am I allowed to play the game stealth-like? And I felt like Far Cry 6, and for the most part, the majority of the Far Cries have always did a good job at letting me play the game how I want to play. And as far as the stuff to do in Far Cry, I mean, it's not really changed much in terms of Far Cry. You got your objectives on here, you got your checkpoints, you got your bases, enemy bases that you can liberate and take over. You got all of these things on here that make sense towards the narrative. You want to clear as much of the map as possible so you can take the fight back to the mean dictator. You want to be able to take this country back for the natives. And another thing, I can really hand it off to the Far Cry 6 team. I'm not going to try to pronounce their name because I'm going to butcher it. Is the fact that the music and really, you know, how people sound really good. I don't feel like, you know, I heard the same person more than once. Everyone felt really nice out that, especially the audio, you know, any types of audio going into this game, from the gun shooting to the music playing and the main protagonist singing in the car while you're driving down the road. It's the little attention to detail that I think a lot of you are going to really appreciate from this game. I mean, there's even epic music, epic missions, pretty much everything about the game is solid, man. I can't really find too much to nitpick about this game. As far as Far Cry's comparing to other Far Cry's, I would probably say Far Cry 3 is still the GOAT in terms of what Far Cry is the best. And maybe that's a lot of nostalgia on my part. Maybe it because I really enjoyed Far Cry back then when I first started really diving into the Far Cry franchise, that's obviously going to be my favorite. But regardless if Far Cry 3 is my favorite, I feel like Far Cry 6 gives us a run for its money. I do feel like the Far Cry 3 in terms of character development, they had a little bit more going for them in that, but that doesn't take away from Far Cry 6. I honestly feel like Far Cry 6 is the second best in the franchise. I know a lot of you might disagree on that. A lot of people like Far Cry 4 and 5, and I didn't really jump in too much of Far Cry 1 and 2, but as far as Far Cry's, this is a solid experience and a solid entry into the franchise. And I recommend everyone go out here and buy this game, man. You know, but hey, if you guys feel uncomfortable paying $60, $70, and the reason I say $70 is because I don't really know what it costs on the Xbox Series S or X or the PS5. I'm assuming it's all 60, but I'm not, don't quote me on that, man. But I do think it's worth it regardless what the price point is. Now, I think I had a solid experience with this game, and I think a lot of you would enjoy it too. If you like good stories that are told well, gameplay that highlights that story, and you know, just general atmosphere in general, this game looks great, then I think this game is for you. Far Cry 6 is for you. Go out there and get it. But anyway, that's the review on Far Cry 6. I think the game's a solid experience. I do think it's worth the money that they're asking for it. You can get you about, I would say, anywhere from 25 to 40 hours depending on how much you do in the game. I did a good amount, but I didn't clear everything in the map. I never really do when it comes to Far Cry games, but there is a lot of substance here to how much you're going to spend versus what you're going to get. But anyway, that's the review, guys. Tell me in the comment section below, did you guys enjoy Far Cry 6 if you're coming here after you've played the game? And if you're coming here before you play the game to see if you want to validate spending that money, tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. And Far Cry 6 is totally going to get that iron stamp. And until the next review, this is Lord Addict. I'm out of here.